There's a strange feeling that only shows up when you're doing well. Not broke, not struggling, not panicking about rent. You've got a decent income, maybe even a really good one, and yet every month feels tight. Not because you can't pay your bills, but because no matter how much you earn, it never feels like you're actually ahead. You're busy, you're productive, you're on track. But deep down there's this low-grade pressure you can't shake, like you're running fast, but not really going anywhere. Here's the uncomfortable truth most people never say out loud. Some of the most financially trapped people in the world are high earners. Doctors, engineers, consultants, founders. People with impressive LinkedIn profiles and good money. And they all share the same quiet thought. How am I making this much and still feel behind? Not broke, just boxed in. Not failing, just stuck. And the reason has nothing to do with income. It has everything to do with identity. Because the trap isn't low pay. The trap is believing that earning more automatically means you're building wealth. And that belief is where everything starts to go sideways. But it gets deeper than that. Because the real problem isn't money. It's what money has slowly replaced in your life, without you even noticing. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Core idea 1, the successful but stressed identity. Let's start with a situation that's probably going to feel uncomfortably familiar. You finally hit a number you used to dream about. Maybe it's your first 6-figure salary, your first big client, your first real promotion, or just the point where money stopped being your main daily stress. You thought you'd feel free. Instead, what you felt was pressure, new lifestyle, new expectations, new version of yourself you now have to maintain. You upgraded your apartment. Your wardrobe got sharper. Your social life got more expensive. Not because you're irresponsible, but because your identity upgraded. You became someone who makes good money. And that identity quietly came with a script. You should live in a nice place. You should travel properly. You should drive something decent. You should keep up with your peers. Not flexing, not showing off, just not falling behind. Here's the part nobody warns you about. High income doesn't create freedom. It creates a higher baseline. Your life becomes more comfortable, but also more expensive to maintain. So now you're not just earning money, you're defending a lifestyle. And that's when the mental shift happens. You stop asking, is this building my future? And start asking, can I afford to keep this going? That's a subtle but massive change. Because one question is about wealth. The other is about survival at a higher level. Pause for a second. If you lost your income tomorrow, how long could you keep your current life exactly the same? Not downgrade, not adjust, not be fine eventually. Exactly the same. 3 months, 6 months, a year? Most high earners don't like that question, because the honest answer is usually shorter than it should be. And that's the first crack in the illusion. You're not trapped because you earn too little. You're trapped because your identity became expensive. And expensive identities require constant income, which means you're not free. You're just well paid. And those are not the same thing. Open loop. If this was only about lifestyle inflation, it would be manageable. But the real damage happens in the next layer, where time disappears. Core idea 2, you don't own time, you rent it. Here's another thought experiment. Imagine someone offered you this deal. You'll make really good money for the next 10 years. But in exchange, you don't control your schedule. No real off switch. Always reachable. Always mentally on. Would you take it? Most people already did. They just didn't realize that's what they signed up for. High earners don't sell their bodies. They sell their attention, energy, and availability. And the higher the income, the more of those 3 are expected. More responsibility, more mental load, more invisible stress. Even on days off, your brain is still half at work. You're not relaxing. You're just not physically at the office. That's not free time. That's unpaid mental labor. And here's the uncomfortable part. Money feels meaningless when you don't control your time. You can afford nicer dinners, but you're too tired to enjoy them. You can afford better travel, but you're still checking emails by the pool. You can buy convenience, but you can't buy back your nervous system. So your life becomes this loop. Work hard, spend money, recover, repeat. Not building. Not compounding, just maintaining a high-output version of yourself. From the outside, it looks successful. From the inside, it feels weirdly empty. Because deep down, if you stop performing, the whole thing collapses. Your income, your lifestyle, your sense of progress. That's not wealth. That's high-functioning dependency. You're dependent on your role, your output, your relevance, your energy staying high forever. And that's not realistic. No one sustains peak output for 30 years. But most high earners are building their entire financial life on that assumption, which leads to the next realization. Open loop. If income is fragile and time is rented, then what are you actually building? Core idea 3. You confused income with progress. This is the quiet psychological trap. High earners feel like they're moving forward because the number going into their bank account is bigger. But income growth is not the same as financial progress. It just feels like it because your brain tracks effort, not leverage. You worked harder, you earned more, so it feels deserved. And it is. But effort-based money doesn't scale into freedom. It scales into burnout with better branding. Here's the line that usually hits people. If your income stops when you stop, you're not wealthy, you're just well compensated. That doesn't mean you're doing life wrong. It just means your financial system is still built on you, your time, your skills, your presence, and that's a fragile foundation. High earners often think, I'll build wealth later. Right now, I'm just focusing on my career. But later quietly turns into later when I earn more, later when I have more time, later when life slows down, and life never slows down. It just gets more complex, more obligations, more people relying on you, more lifestyle to maintain. So later becomes never. Not because you're lazy, but because your system rewards staying busy, not becoming free. This is the mid-video discomfort moment. So let's be honest. If someone looked at your financial life today, would they see a system that compounds without you, or a system that collapses if you step away? Because most high earners are building high cash flow, low real leverage, minimal true optionality, which means you're winning the game of income, but losing the game of control. And control is the whole point. Open loop. If income isn't the answer and time isn't free, then what actually creates the feeling of financial freedom? Core idea 4. The real trap is psychological, not financial. Here's where it gets subtle. The biggest reason high earners feel trapped isn't their numbers. It's their mindset. High earners tend to identify as, I'm the kind of person who works hard and figures it out, which is a great identity. But it also creates this blind spot. They try to solve structural problems with more effort, feeling behind, work more, feeling stressed, optimize harder, feeling stuck, push through. But effort is not the missing variable anymore. Structure is. And this is where the identity crisis hits. Because shifting from high performer to system builder requires letting go of the thing that made you successful, being the hero, the grinder, the reliable one, the person who handles everything. But wealth doesn't come from being necessary. It comes from becoming less necessary, which feels threatening to high achievers. Because if you're not needed, who are you? That's why so many high earners unconsciously avoid building real leverage. Not intentionally, emotionally. They stay in roles where they're important, they're respected, they're busy, they're needed. But those roles rarely produce freedom. They produce identity validation, and identity validation feels good. Until one day you realize you built a life that only works if you never slow down. And that's when the anxiety shows up. Not panic, not crisis, just a constant low-level feeling of, I should be further ahead than this, even though objectively you're doing fine. That feeling is your nervous system telling you your financial life is optimized for performance, not for peace. And peace is the real benchmark. Not income, not status, not lifestyle. Peace, open loop. So what actually changes the feeling? Not tactics, but a shift in how you relate to money itself. Here's the reframe that usually flips everything. Financial freedom is not about how much you make. It's about how much of your life doesn't require you. That's it. Not passive income fantasies, not overnight wealth, not escaping work entirely. Just this. How much of your future is structurally independent from your daily output? Because when that number is low, you feel trapped, even at high income. When that number grows, something strange happens. You start feeling calm, not excited, not euphoric, just steady. You stop obsessing over monthly performance, short-term fluctuations, proving anything. Because your system starts doing some of the work for you, your money becomes quieter, less dramatic, less emotional, less tied to your self-worth. And that's the real shift. You move from, I need to make more, to, I need to build something that compounds. You move from, I can't slow down, to, I don't have to rush. You move from, my income defines me, to, my system protects me. And ironically, that's when high earners finally start feeling rich. Not because their lifestyle exploded, but because their anxiety disappeared. They know they're not one decision away from collapse. They're not dependent on constant performance. They're not trapped inside their own success. They own time. They own optionality. They own the direction of their life. And that's what money was supposed to do in the first place. Not impress people. Not upgrade aesthetics. Not create pressure. Just create control. Control over where you live, what you work on, who you say yes to, how fast or slow you move. That's real wealth. Quiet, boring, unsexy, but powerful. And once you taste that kind of calm, you'll never confuse income with freedom again. Most people don't feel financially trapped because they're irresponsible. They feel trapped because they built a life that rewards being busy instead of building leverage. And the longer you wait to notice that, the more expensive it becomes to change, which is exactly what I break down in my next video. The hidden cost of waiting to get serious. Not about motivation, not about hustle, about what actually happens to your future when you keep saying, "I'll fix this later." If this video made you slightly uncomfortable, in a good way, that one will probably hit even closer to home. That's the next logical step.